I am excited to meet your two guests here today. You always bring amazing stories, the stories that you bring to us of people inside of our community, whether it's businesses or families. They're so inspiring. And I know that that's what City View is about, is informing, involving, inspiring people, inspiring our community. So would you take a moment here to introduce our guests and give us a little bit of background on this?
It's my pleasure. This is Jenna Grimes. She is the mother of two of the cutest children you'd ever meet. Owen is 6 years old and Ava is 4.
Wow.
When Owen was a toddler, he was diagnosed with autism. And then next to her is Sherry Grimes. That's Owen's paternal grandmother.
Okay.
And Jenna and John, her husband, are very fortunate to have a great support system. But even with a great support system, it's tough, especially during this pandemic. And now they've been told that it's going to be at least 6 more weeks before Owen can get back in the classroom. Now, the reason, Jamie, I came to them is that they wanted to honor this wonderful teacher who has done so much with Owen this year at school. Her name is Veronica Negron, and she is at Grace Creek Elementary School.
Wow.
And Owen was just making wonderful strides with her. So that's how I came to meet them. And then it kind of evolved into a more of a story as the pandemic went on, more of a story about what they're going to do for this school year.
Wow. So let me start with this. Jenna, what grade would Owen have been in there at the school? Would that have been like kindergarten or how does that work?
She actually teaches K-5.
Okay.
And there's only about 7 kids in there this past year. So
Okay.
he was in kindergarten this past year. So he'll be in first grade this year.
Okay. So was this his first year at school then?
He had went to another school before this. It was a pre-K program that they have in the Cumberland County school systems. And then we transferred him to Grace Creek Elementary. That way he would be closer to John.
Yeah, because you said he's a teacher there at the school as well.
He's a teacher at the high school.
He's
Grace
at the
Creek
high school.
Mm-hmm. He's the basketball coach too.
Oh, okay, awesome, fantastic. And so now, you guys said that Owen, give us a little bit of backstory about him and diagnosis and kind of what your plans have been and where you are today.
Well, Owen was probably diagnosed around 18 months by his pediatrician. She was the first one that had made that call. And then when we got him into the Cumberland County, their psychologist actually did a formal diagnosis of autism. Obviously, his first sign was that he's nonverbal, and he is still nonverbal to this day. And they call it red flags is what they say. You know, he likes to run, he likes to jump. He doesn't so much often now, but he kind of flap his arms a little bit.
Stimming.
Yeah, stimming. He always has to have something in his hands to kind of pat. He doesn't really make eye contact, but this past year he was doing really well with that. So those are some of the signs for autism. And whenever we enrolled him into Grace Creek Elementary, Miss Negron was actually not his teacher. It was actually a different teacher, but she had told us at open house that she had gotten another job.
Okay.
So it was almost a blessing that we got Miss Negron, because she has worked so well with him, with the eye contact, with the sitting. He's still kind of on sippy cups, and she was, getting him to drink out of cups, using straws. He had his own desk that he would sit in, and whenever we would take him to school in the morning, she has him flip his sign that he's there, and she tells him to sit down, and he goes and sits down. It was very routine. That's how he is. He has to be in a routine. And so with this pandemic, he is completely out of it.
It's like he's lost. It's like he's he's wandering around the house. He's wondering, you know, what are we going to do? Anytime, I mean, he'll take John by the arm and he's constantly pulling him here and there. If it's to go for a ride, if it's to go to get something to eat, it's like, it's totally changed his life. You know, my son was so impressed that every morning when he would drop him off, Miss Negron would say, okay, Owen, what do we do first? He went and hung his book bag up. He put his lunch bag up. And one morning, Owen accidentally knocked over a box of matching cards. And she said, okay, Owen, we're going to have to clean these up. And my son said to me, yeah, really? He's not going to do that. And he did. She said, let's sit down. She took his hands and she sat with him, and she, hand over hand, she took his hand, picked it up, and Jonathan said there were about like 20 pieces. And he said, I just stood there in amazement. He actually picked him up, put him back. She said, now where does that go, Owen? He put it right back where it went. And then she said, let's sit down. I mean, it was just such a joy. I mean, it's the little things that you see that he is doing that is just amazing.
Now, give me some background about this, Sherry. Like, is that something that he would normally not do then?
No.
So
He's going around the house, and if he's got his juice or whatever, he just as soon jump up on the trampoline and throw it out. I mean, it's like, and you can say, Owen, pick it up. And if you keep on, he will. But, you know, most of the time he's running around kind of like in his own little world. He doesn't have the structure at home, because at home it's different. You're with your mommy and your daddy, or he's with Mimi and Papa. Right. Or Grammy, or, you know.
That's true for just about all children.
Yeah, they're not going to do for us, because we're not. And, you know, it's like I told my son one day in the garage, I said, I feel so inadequate. I was in tears. I said, how can I help him? And then my son looked at me and he goes, well, Mom, how do you think I feel? And of course I left that day crying, because I thought, you know, we don't know, but we, you know, it's just, but, you know, it's what really strange people, it's like my son said, he teaches autistic children in health and PE. He knows. I mean, he recognized that Owen was on the spectrum. And, you know, all children, it's like he said, Mom, if there's a million, there's not one that's the same. Right. Owen is very loving. He loves to be tickled and touched. He kisses, he hugs. He's very, that's kind of a different thing. A lot of people say, oh, they don't want to be touched or what, but he's very loving. He started out, I've kept him, you know, for several days a week since he was 8 weeks old. He started out completely, his developmental, it was great.
He was speaking a little bit.
He was speaking. He'd say, Mama, Dad, bye-bye. We'd do patty cake. He knew what was coming next. He would eat anything, and all of that. Just, my husband noticed it. He came in from work and he would say his name, Owen. He wouldn't answer. He wouldn't look at him. And, you know, but I guess being with him every day, we thought, well, you know, maybe it's just a stage. But then as time went on, you know, we figured out there was something wrong.
You know, you said, you know, how can I help him? But I'll tell you what, just the love that I hear in your voices, the love I see in your faces. I mean, just that alone is an amazing, amazing gift. And just showing the love to children is the very number one thing you can do. And so you should feel totally affirmed that is the very best thing you can do. And I hope, Kim, that we have a picture of this wonderful little boy upcoming in the issue. Is he
the pictures are beautiful. Matthew Wonderly went with me to their home, and his sister is a doll. And we took a lot of photos. We'll have photos in the print edition, and then we'll have more photos online at cityviewNC.com.
Yes. Oh, that's absolutely fabulous. So from what I'm hearing, and of course I would agree, you know, anytime, in fact, when they go to grandma's house, they get away with a lot more than mom and dad's house, right? What stays at Nana's, or what happens at Nana's stays at Nana's. But, you know, but from what I'm hearing is then when Owen went to school and he was with this teacher, all of a sudden you were almost seeing him kind of bloom and blossom. Am I understanding that right?
Definitely. Yes.
He, you know, as a parent, which I'm sure you can understand, you hate to leave your child with a stranger and you don't really know, because you hear all these stories in the news. And I remember I took him one day, and his teacher was walking down the hallway, and he took my hand away, and he ran towards her and gave her the biggest hug. And that's just so not, like him to do that.
To us, you think.
Right, because she was a stranger.
Right.
And and then there was one day whenever I went and picked him up, and the assistant was trolling him around in circles, and he was just giggling, and they're just amazing, and you can just see the love in his eyes that he has for Miss Negron. Like, it's just, they have the most special bond.
And it's not even, my husband would pick up Owen a couple times from school every week, and he told me, he said, Sherry, he said, this woman has so much love for every child, not just Owen. He said, I watched her as she delivered each child to the parent, and he said, if she had to walk way out of her way, she spoke to each parent and kind of gave them an overview of the day or how Owen was, and she's so positive and loving. I mean, I know this sounds probably bad and good, but I never thought I would go to the auditorium and sit and watch him sit in a chair, not making a move, and the principal and the assistant principal saying, okay, we're here for Terrific Kid. I did a lot of schools don't even do Terrific Kid for special needs children, which I think is so sad. But when they said he got Terrific Kid, and he had the brightest, prettiest smile, I mean, my husband, we were all bawling. We were just crying. And do you know that little boy walked up the little like risers, little bleachers. He stood up there with his little certificate, just like he knew exactly what he was getting. And I just went, and we had, we took 50 pictures because we were like, this is amazing. The other thing that was very impressive is that when it was time for us to leave, she said, all right, let's all get up and let's go. And she took his hand and said, normally, when he was in preschool, he would, oh no, we went one time for Grandparents' Day, biggest mistake ever. He screamed his head off. He wanted to go with us. No, he was perfectly fine leaving with his teacher in his class and his assistant. And that just does your heart so much good.
Now, Jenna, what have they told you about what is going to happen? What is going to happen for Owen as the school year starts?
So he will be virtual, just like everybody else will be, which is a shame. Whenever the pandemic first started, which is how it's going to be this year, Miss Negron and his assistant, or her assistant, would come on, and they would be live, and they would read stories. They'd go over letters, pretty much what they would try and do in the classroom, they would do, and they would try to, do it throughout the day so it's not so overwhelming. And then his speech teacher, Miss McIntyre, who is also amazing, she would come on once a week and do about 15 minutes, 20 minutes with him, and we would have to put him in a booster seat just so that he would have that attention with her. And he does okay. There for a while, until he, I guess, was like, okay, I have to do this. He was screaming. He didn't want to be there because he's at home. That's his safe place. He knows the difference between, I go to school to learn, I come home to play. But that's exactly how it's going to be for him this year, until September 25th. And hopefully then they're going to say that they can go back to school. But I don't know how. I just feel like he is regressing a lot, as where when he was in school, he was progressing. Some of the things, he doesn't want to sit down, which he was sitting in class. We are still in pull-ups, and so she was getting him to sit on the toilet for at least a minute, and she'd have a timer, and at home we can't even get him to sit on the toilet. He's going backwards, and it's affecting him so much. not being with her.
A computer can never take the place of the human touch.
Yeah.
And him being face to face, some children would like to be further away. Owen wants to be close. He's you mean, especially when she does such a great job. But I thought about it, and I thought this child will actually have been out of school by the time he goes back 6 months. Really, when you think about it,
if they can go back,
if they can even go back. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but there are other counties that are starting their EC children. Wake County is, Johnson County, Sampson County. They are going to start their EC children because
well, they're smaller classrooms.
6 or 7 children. They can space them and things like that. So that's why we were just we wanted to put the word out as to what can be done for Owen. We feel like we're watching him just go backwards.
Kim, this brings out the power of a teacher in a child's life, because when you're listening to this, you're really hearing, teachers do so much more than just teach ABCs and numbers. I mean, the relationships, the feedback, the hugs, the smiles. I mean, I would dare say that teachers are just as important as a parent when it comes to being present in a child's life.
They spend more time with your children than you do every day. I worked in kindergarten for 27 years, and every child is different. I know that. I also worked next door to a class that had autistic children. And, I would hear the meltdowns and I would hear things, but, those people, I used to say they need to be paid 3 times as much as anybody else, because they are gifted in such a way. I mean, I thought I could, help any child because, I had children and I worked with children, but it takes a lot of experience, and Miss Negron is just, I've never seen anybody like her.
She's so well trained. She
has
a master's.
Oh yeah. And she's, she wants to, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but she wants to start like a camp for summer for these children and work in it and she says, I've got my people. I need a place. I need to be funded. But she said, just like Owen, he was supposed to go to Camp Sunshine this summer. And it's through the Autism Society, but the parents still have to pay. But that all got canceled because of the pandemic. So see, he's been all this time without any classroom experience.
I know how just even my own children are just being out of the routine. So, for many of us who may not be, have someone in our family who has autism, you really don't understand the depth of it until you hear another family talking about this. Because, I admit I'm guilty to sitting here complaining about, my kindergartner isn't paying attention to virtual. She's making her crayons sit here and talk to each other, right? I'm sitting here complaining about this, not even acknowledging that my challenges are very different from another parent's challenge. And I so appreciate that you bring this out and that you are sharing this, because we are highlighting a fabulous educator. We are highlighting a school that has really made sure they have these type of top-notch educators, but then also talking about the difference that it is in this type of scenario. Would you, Jenna and Sherry, would you dig into a little bit about what did this past spring look like when you had to go virtual? I know that it was sudden for all of us. Could you walk us a little bit down that path?
You had to pivot pretty quickly, right?
Yeah. It was kind of at a standstill. I felt like it was just overnight. It was like, okay, no more school. I wouldn't say luckily, but I do work in the dental field. So we got shut down as well. So I was able to be home. Me and John both were able to be home with Owen. But still, we don't have that type of background to teach Owen. And that was my frustration, that I was trying to get out there to them. Like, yeah, I can sit him in front of a computer, but Miss Negron can't be with him, 10 hours a day. Like he still needs some type of structure and some type of learning, and he's not going to sit in front of that computer. And so He has to have hand over hand, which is what Ms. Negron does with him at school. I know she works one-on-one with all of the kids because, you know, they are different grades. They go at a different pace. And so we had packets of work and everything, and I would have to do hand over hand, and he's looking at me like, why are you making me do this while we're tracing? Like, it's just, he's not focusing because it's, you're my mom, why am I doing this?
Right. And we all dealt with that. I mean, all of us dealt with that.
He has 2 children to do this with.
Yeah.
Preschool, same way. They were sending, you know, here comes the other one. You'd have to do all this. So,
And Ava's,
she's almost 5, and she's very advanced. Yes. I mean, she loved it. She would rather be at school, but preschool, but she would do it on the computer.
But you're really on your toes having to deal with
both of them. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think that all parents who got to be homeschool parents this time around and we weren't used to it, we all discovered we're not quite cut out for this.
Exactly. Not at all.
No.
We discovered that, well, because your child does, they do respond different to you. Now, I think that it's a different scenario once you've homeschooled for a while and you've established that. But for those of us who got thrown into teaching right away, we fully appreciate our teachers. We could not say that enough.
That's what I used to say when I worked. I'd say, just come stay with us about a week and let's see how you do.
Yeah, exactly. You also bring up something that's, Kim, I think extremely important here, which is being physically present versus a computer. Would you dive into a little bit of that, the difference, and especially in your scenario? Because I know in our situation, I actually ended up this year going ahead and employing my children, and we hired a private teacher. My reason was I wanted them to have a smiling face. I needed someone there to help them individually with their problems, see what they're doing. Like, I wanted someone there building the blocks with them or whatever it was. Will you dive into that a little bit with us?
So, I don't even know how to answer that. You know, you don't really have a lot of people that are as experienced as Miss Negron, you know, that are willing to help these kids.
What's the cost?
Yeah, and the cost, you know, they need to be certified, and it's just, I just keep saying it's frustrating because it is frustrating, you know, because him being at a computer, I really just feel like he's just going to regress back to even before kindergarten, because it's just not the same, you know, with her being in person where she can do that hand over hand with him, and she does flashcards with him, and, you know, there's 3 cards out, and, you know, pick the monkey, Owen, and she can, you know, help him do that, and as well as his speech teacher does that. So
what I hear you saying is, someone, if you were to, let's say you were to be in a situation where you were to hire a private teacher, you're still not even just hiring anyone. You have to have someone who is trained specifically for his learning style.
Absolutely.
And how much do you think that would cost?
Yeah. Because, you know, it's not just a basic teacher. They need to specialize in autism so they know what they're dealing with, because, like Sherry said, there's no one kid with autism that is exactly the same. And so, you know, Ms. Negron, she is experienced in that. She has ABA behavior, which he does go to ABA after he gets out of school. So I always laugh about it and say he has a full work day because he goes to school and then he goes to ABA.
Explain to us what ABA is real quick for our audience.
It's I don't even know.
Applied behavior
analysis.
There
you go. Applied behavior analysis. There we go. So when he goes there, he has a tablet, and it has like a speaking device on it. So that way he can touch certain words to be able to communicate with us, because me and my husband, we were just overwhelmed by him getting so frustrated and having meltdowns and crying, and he stomps his toes, and it would frustrate us knowing that he was so frustrated that he wanted something that he couldn't explain to us. Right. So with him being nonverbal, that was the next step that we took. So him, whenever he goes to therapy, that's what they work with him on, is trying to use that device. And I mean, hopefully, you know, we want the outcome to be that he will speak.
But now, if you're telling me this is how he's communicating, how
Mhm.
is that happening through virtual teaching then? I mean, how is he communicating with the teacher, or how is that set up?
They have to sit right with
Yeah.
him. Like I know my son said one day for speech, after he got over, being upset by being, strapped in a booster seat, Jonathan said that he said, the speech teacher said, Owen, there are three animals. And she said, and she told my son, take your hand and say this, touch the monkey. And Jonathan said he was a little surprised that after she showed the next set of animals or whatever it was, he said he helped him, and he said, Owen, touch the book, touch it. And he did it. He went. So he understands what you say. He just can't tell you what he wants. And he'll get very upset. But with the computer, it has different things on it. And he's learned what those are. And he can say, like one of them, the one he usually presses is eat.
Okay.
Eat, and it says the word eat, just like that. So that if you're not in person with that, speech teacher, with the teacher or the assistant, this is totally different because you're at home and it's not the same.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Sherry, talk about, and Jenna, what have you tried to do to not fight, but
Advocate?
to
Advocate?
try yes.
I'll give you
To have
that.
Well,
Um, so whenever it was coming back to school rolling back around, I was very hopeful that they were at least going to go with the plan B, which was to send them to school a couple of days during the week and then virtual, because if they did that plan, Owen could go every day. Okay. So I was very hopeful for that. Once it came out that they were doing virtual, I contacted the special needs coordinator, and, I know that there's nothing she can do because the board had already decided, but I just wanted somebody else higher than me and higher than his teacher, to know how frustrated I was about the situation and how unfair it is, for Owen and for his classmates, because, I know there's one of his classmates, his mom's a nurse. And so she's got, awkward hours and how are she supposed to do this? And just like us, with me being here, full time, and my husband being a teacher and he's having to be virtual, who's supposed to teach Owen?
And Sherry, you started a Facebook.
Well, I just when the article, when they shared that and it said, invite people to this, I did. And there's so many sites that I go on. One I love is Finding Cooper's Voice. And it is a mother, and I think her son is 11, maybe. Yeah. And he just he has autism, but also I think it's called apraxia. And this woman, but she stays home. She does not work, I don't think, and she works with him, and she has like a journal kind of every day almost, and she talks about a story about Cooper and what he does, and she talks about life in general. It's not just that child, but she has 2 other younger children, and she talked about how she had to stay home with him because he can't stand to go to a soccer game or something where there's loud noise and craziness going on, and here she is missing her little boy, or girl, I think it was a boy, scored a goal, and he came in and he said, Mommy, I did this. And she said, I just picked him up and hugged him and cried because I wasn't there for him. But she said, her husband was, but she said, she misses out on things, but she knows that she has to be with Cooper because, like she said, finding Cooper's voice. And that's what we want to do. We have to be Owen's voice. Yeah. It takes so much work and so much patience and so much time. And when you are a parent, like with Jenna working full time, and then my son, he was trying to teach virtual, and do virtual with Owen and do virtual with Ava. So, I mean, that's what I call impossible. I mean, you just, something falls by the wayside. It just, you know, it's just not. And there's so many people that do not understand about autism. You know, a friend of mine's daughter posted, my children are just, you know, asking questions every day. You know, why can't I see my friends? I want to go to school. And, you know, that Mimi and me said, well, what about my grandson? He can't even say to me, why am I not in school? Why can't I see my teacher? Why can't I be where I want to be? So I tell you that these parents and we all have, it's a struggle every single day. And I say when, you know, I was with him 4 hours, I had him 4 hours yesterday, and it is physically, of course, I didn't do anything except be with him and play with him and hug him and love him. And, you know, his smile will melt your heart. I mean, he's just precious. But physically, he's, you know, it's very, and he's getting bigger. And it's, you know, it gets to be more, but he is the most loving and precious child. I mean, he is. But, you know, I've said to my husband, you know, and when Jenna was home, she was with him all the time. But now that she's back at work, my son has him. And I say a lot, I don't know how he does it because he's a lot younger than me. So that makes a big difference. But, you know, but it gets hard, you know, because you've got two children and they both want your attention.
And your mom helps too.
Yeah. So it's Owens Village is what we call everybody. Everybody has a day. Grammy, which is my mom, she does Mondays. And then Mimi and Pawpaw do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then I have Friday. So it's takes everybody.
Yeah. And Jamie, that is what is amazing to me is this family has a very strong support system and they're struggling.
Yep.
What about these children who don't have that kind of support?
Yeah. You know, you're really hearing throughout this story that the power of education, the power of teachers, and that this isn't, you know, I've seen so many people say, oh, well, people just want kids to go back to school for babysitting. That is not at all. Every child deserves a good education. We've all seen this, that any time that someone goes from rags to riches, or they've made a success of themselves, or they've come from, you know, where every challenge was against them and they've defeated that. Educating themselves is the way to do that. And our children absolutely deserve the best education. And we know it's there. We are highlighting these teachers. We 100% support these teachers. They are so important. And you bringing this out of just really emphasizing the importance of this, because no, I can't. I can't imagine what that's like. I have trivial problems with trying to educate my children compared to the challenges others are facing. And I know, Kim, that's what you guys were really wanting the community to be informed about, were these other circumstances that are going on right now. So what is the game plan right now? I know that, you know, it's just been recent that they announced that Cumberland County is going to be virtual through September 25th, I believe it is. Right. The date somewhere around in there. What is the plan right now for Owen?
I don't think we have one, to be honest. I think we're waiting to hear back from John's school on exactly the details that's going to happen there, because all he knows right now is that they're virtual. So I don't know what's going to happen.
I just feel that Owen is being left out, really.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I feel like, you know, he's being deprived of what he really, really needs, which is to be in that room with that teacher. And I realize there's safety precautions. I understand that. But this is how I feel. If Wake County, is it right?
Yeah,
Wake County, Johnson County, and Sampson County can do it, why can't Cumberland County do it? Why don't we care enough about these children to some way, just somehow find a way to have these children in class? You know, it's just appalling to me. And I just don't understand it. If they can do it, then why can't we do it?
Well, and it's not even just these challenges. And I feel for the schools. I really, really do, because then you have some families that have no internet. They don't have computers, or the older child has to use the computer all day. We ran into it to where when one child was supposed to virtual stream, the other child was supposed to do it at the same time. It's challenge after challenge, or young children cannot self-guide. We have special needs. The challenges these schools face right now, I'm glad I'm not in their shoes, because I'll tell you, we understand the importance of this, and what that answer is, I don't know. I mean, Kim, what's your feedback on this?
I think that Sherry really touched on a point that there are enormous safety concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I think that no matter what the decision was, it was not going to be popular with probably maybe 50-50. Maybe it might be that close. I think that and again, I think working parents, that's the most difficult. I've been there. I don't know what would have happened had my children been young when this happened. But I do think that this situation with these children who really can't function academically on a virtual basis needs to maybe be addressed again.
Yeah, these are the conversations that need to be had, I think.
Yeah, right.
Because it was almost as if we kind of, just pulled the trigger and school was out. And then, of course, obviously, there's second and third order effects that are going to happen. And this is one of them that we're talking about. And so I think the most important thing that happens here today is that having these conversations, making people aware so that we can begin to talk this out. How can we solve this problem? How can we meet these needs? How can we make sure that our children are not suffering and still take into consideration, the health crisis as well? So what does that look like? Because, I have to say, we are in one of the most sophisticated, advanced countries in the world.
Right.
We have the most brilliant minds here inside of our own city, let alone our country. Surely we can get together, have these conversations, and figure out how can we make this work? Because this is a giant need. And at the end of the day, children like Owen, who it's just a giant disruption to their entire life, and then on top of it, making sure that they are receiving what they need and what they deserve. That needs to be our priority. And it starts with these conversations, and it starts with making people aware,
Right.
of this situation.
Right. He deserves an education, and he deserves to be taught in the way that he can progress and not regress.
Yeah. So Kim, this is going to be a featured article inside of the August edition.
Yes, Jamie. And again, we started off wanting to commend his teacher, who not only does a wonderful job teaching him, but has offered during the summer to come over and help out if they got in a jam, right, Jenna? Has the idea of opening a child camp, kind of summer camp,
for special,
because that is another issue. Even when the school year is normal,
absolutely,
they reach the summer, and like all children, there's a learning gap,
Yes.
and for special needs children especially. So that's a whole nother topic. So we started off going to meet them, and then life has continued to progress, and the pandemic is just not letting up. And so then the schools made their decision, and the story has evolved to where it's a real problem.
Sherry, you said you have a Facebook group. Is that right?
Well, I just joined I have a lot. Well, I didn't really start a group, but I have a lot of friends that support me, really. They don't have children that have autism or grandchildren that have autism, but I always like all the, everything I can read on autism and children and what they do. I know the one I really like is Finding Cooper's Voice. And then there's another one that I've joined recently. I can't think of the name of it, but people have no idea what this is all about. And I mean, I had, because I worked in the school, I did understand, you know, I had seen children with autism, but to experience it and live it, I had no idea.
And it's not just autism.
There's all kinds of EC children, exceptional children that need it. You know, children with Down syndrome. I have a friend that her grandson has Downs, and her daughter quit her job and actually went to school and now teaches children, exceptional children. And she's not here in the county, but she's in a close, you know, nearby county. And because she saw that, you know, her son was going to need lots of help. And I see him making progress when I go on Facebook and we chat a bit. And, you know, and then that hurts and breaks my heart for Owen, because I'm not seeing that with him. You know, so it's, and also there's another thing that comes with autism and ABA therapy and all of this. It's very expensive, very. I mean, yeah, insurance covers some, but every time he walks in that door, there's a copay. If you go to Camp Sunshine or wherever you pay for it. I mean, it's not cheap. A lot of these children have specialty doctors, like a gastrologist, a neurologist, all of these things.
Wow.
ENT. Owens had 3 sets of tubes in his ears. You know, there's all kinds of things that financially are very, very hard. So, you know, it's not like people just give you something, you know, because they both work. Maybe, you know, they might not qualify for something, but it's hard. I mean, you know, and that's just the truth of it. It's, you know, people can say, oh, well, that probably gets covered through the Autism Society. No, it does not. They do nothing. I mean, there's nothing that, you know, that is done for Owen that they don't have to pay for.
Yeah. I have a client whose twins are both on the spectrum, and he looked at me and he said, there's nothing I wouldn't pay for to help my kids. He's like, there's nothing I wouldn't do to try and help my children. And people don't understand that financial burden. And then bring on all of this with the school, and it's overwhelming. He told me, I feel overwhelmed because I'm trying to give them as much as I can. And then you take away what I felt was secure. He said, I'm completely overwhelmed.
I'm sure it is. It's very emotional. It's sad. It's really sad. I mean, you know, I could go over to their house and she's at work or whatever, and my son's there and he's juggling. I mean, it's like Owen's pulling him here and the other one's pulling him there, and, you know, he's changing Owen and she's asking for something else. And it's like, I think, oh my gosh, you know, it's very, very hard. I mean, my heart just goes out to them and to all parents with these children that, you know, they're not getting their needs are not being met. And that's the bottom line.
Sherry, you know, as you're talking here, one of the most powerful things you could do, and I know Kim's going to agree with this too, Sherry and Jenna, is finding people as a support network, those who are going through the same journeys as you know, and you were mentioning some of the Facebook groups, but, you know, Kim, I have to recognize that Cumberland County is going through specific things compared to maybe other counties. And I would encourage, and I don't know if Sherry and Jenna are interested, but to actually start that, you know, Facebook group, to start a group where it's specific to parents, you know, EC parents here in Cumberland County, that you guys can share ideas, collaborate, advocate, have a voice, let people know what's going on here. Because I think that that's the most powerful thing, is shedding light on the situation and letting these conversations happen.
Absolutely.
So if it's okay with you, Kim, if parents who are watching this or grandparents who are watching this and they're like, you know what, we resonate with this, we feel we're going through the same situation, would it be okay if here in the comment thread, they could kind of, you know, reach out and maybe just say, I'm interested? and that maybe Sherry and Jenna, that we could connect you with them and go ahead and start, connecting our community together.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Yeah, and that you guys could, be a little bit of support system to each other, and also share ideas, share how to get through this. Because I think that, all of us, no matter whether it's parenting or business or whatever it is, we all do feel very turned upside down. And the biggest thing here is, okay, how do we make this work? How do we solve this problem? And and Kim, I have to thank you and Tony and the rest of City View for allowing these conversations to happen here on this platform and in the magazine, because this allows our community to hear the amazing things that the teachers are doing, the importance of our teachers, how much we appreciate them, and then also from the parents' perspective and unique situations as well. So we just thank you so much for highlighting this, so these conversations can happen as well.
And I'm so grateful to the Grimes family for letting us.
Yes.
Sure.
Their home.
Yes, yes, because it's never it's never easy coming on camera, but especially when you speak on things so personal and so close to home and to our hearts. But we really, really appreciate that, and just cannot say enough about just how amazing you are, and we can just see the love that you have for your family. So thankful that you have a support, and we are hoping for brighter days on the horizon, especially
Yes, we are.
with all of
We are
this.
praying for those. We are.
Yes. So for anyone who's watching this today and you say, yes, I am a parent who, I also would like the EC education addressed as well, or a grandparent, please feel free to comment here in the thread. Just say, I'm interested. And we've volunteered Sherry and Jenna here to connect with you, but that we could, start a support. And again, any ideas, any support, any feedback that you have is always appreciated as well. And Kim, Jenna, Sherry, thank you so much for today. It was absolutely inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you for having us.
For everyone out there, we hope you have an amazing day, and we will connect with you again soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.